Yo,
You can hear me?
yes, sir.
Now you can see me?
Now I can. Hey,
Started with the recording right away, huh?
hey. Who knows what happens once, the interview starts.
Just trying not to get canceled, man. That's my.
How you doing? How's the day?
It's been good. It's been
Hmm,
good. Got a couple self tapes out.
nice.
Um, yeah, just working away, man. You know how it is.
I feel you. I feel you. All right. Well, let's get started. Let's have some fun.
Yes, sir.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Two Degrees Podcast, brought to you by the Play On Foundation. Today's guest, he's a legend in my books. When I first started in this industry, he was just a headshot on the wall at the acting studio that I went to, and he was spoken very highly of. So I just, whenever I came to class, I just look on the wall and see all the faces and revere them, and his was definitely one of them. But everybody, it's Pedro Miguel Arce. How you doing?
Good, good. What do you say, man?
Man, it's the weather in Vancouver, it's getting a lot better. Spirits are getting brighter.
There you go.
Um, I don't even know. It's such a loaded, I guess, time where I feel like I'm in this state of transition that I'm just trying to still grasp. And so I'm navigating that. That's what I'm up to. you
Happening.
still you still there? There you are.
Yeah, you just completely froze. I feel like I'm in this, and then you left me with all that tension going. Like, what happens now?
Oh man, hopefully it doesn't keep doing that. But yeah, what's the new year been like for you?
Dude, it's been a good year, man. It's
Hmm,
been a good year. I've had I've had some good times. I've got started out with a couple of bookings early,
nice.
which was nice. Got to do some like really nice things, and a couple commercials that I shot just before the new year.
Hmm,
And I started playing,
nice.
and
Was one of them the Raptors one?
it's not a Raptors one, but it's
Oh no,
playing.
it's it's
It's
a
for
it's a
the
betting
score.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's for the score. It's like a betting thing, and they
yeah.
played it a lot during the Raptors. I don't
Yeah.
know now that if the Raptors lost. I don't know if it's still playing because
Mm.
I don't know. People are not messaging us. You know that message when someone sees you
Yeah, yeah.
and they send you a picture of you.
Yeah.
Gotta love those, man.
Oh man. So with that, I'm so fascinated to dive into your trajectory, I'd say, and your journey within acting. Because like as I mentioned before, you were just a face on the wall when I was over at EVN Studios.
Right.
And so let's start with there. What got you into acting? What made you want to be an actor?
The very beginning of it was I was playing football in university,
Hmm,
and they needed football players for a movie, and they contacted one of the coaches. So they
nice.
asked a lot of the players to come in and audition for this film, and I didn't want to go. And a buddy of mine who I played football with in high school said, "Is like, let's go, dude. I'll drive." I'm like, I don't want to drive all the way downtown. I was living in Scarborough at the time,
Hmm,
and so it was like, I don't want to go all the way downtown and do this, man. It's just. So he's like, I'll drive and I'll park. Let's just go. So he went and he auditioned too, but he got it and I didn't.
ah,
Actually, everybody in my team got it because the nature of this movie was how, like, it was high school or university. Sorry, it was a university clicky. How all the different, like all the different types of people just hung out with them themselves, and they
hmm,
couldn't quite place me into any of the groups.
okay.
Even within like the football players, they were kind of separated. With the football players were separated within like whatever colors they were,
Hmm,
right? Either there were not enough, like cinnamon colored, or get not enough of the spice that I was bringing,
hmm,
or I didn't fit into, either like the the two groups that they had. They had like the white guy football players and black guy football players.
Yeah.
And that's so there was that. So I didn't get it, but him and my buddies were sending me pictures about how much fun they were having. And this was basically kind of special skills BG.
Okay.
For that, right? And then my buddy ends up going in and it's like, oh, dude, we had a blast. They fed us hot dogs. You know, I guess back then that was like a good thing. You know, now if we like go on to set and you get like a hot dog, you're like, yo, where's the rest of my meal? Right?
Yeah.
But he was excited about it. And then he booked something else where he got to hold a shotgun and he was super excited about it.
Mm.
And then he just said to me, he's like, you know what, man, it's too bad that you weren't good enough to do this as an actor because it's a lot of fun. And I'm like, excuse me, what was that? He's like, yeah, you weren't good enough to do, you know, you weren't good enough to be an actor. I'm like, oh, challenge accepted. He said, like, too bad you can't do it because you're not good enough, I think was his exact words.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, let's see what happens.
Are you guys still in touch today?
No.
That's so funny.
No, we had a falling out over something completely different. We stayed friends as that.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that introduced me to Earl.
Oh, wow.
He took one class with Earl, and then he's like, you got to go check this guy out. And I'm like...
So this guy was already in the industry as an actor?
He started that time when I told you about when we went for the audition.
Gotcha.
This was a few months in. He got into it. He took an acting class. He actually signed on with an agent who went on to become my first agent. And so he, in a way, not only did he challenge me to do it, he also kind of opened up a couple doors. So I should be grateful to him for that.
What year was this?
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. I think it was like 1755 or something like that. You know, all the movies were still silent. I don't even know if there was movies back in 17. I've been around for a long time, brother. I don't even remember what year it would have been.
Was there ever an era of, I need to prove myself to this guy?
Yes and no. Yes, the fact that we're young guys, you know, like university, you're still, you know, pretty competitive against other guys. We're also both football players. When we played, like if we're on the same team, we're on the same team for going for the same goal. But in practice, you're competitive with the other guys, right? It's that thing that a little bit of healthy competition helps create better players, whether on field or on screen, right? As long as you don't make it like a toxic thing that it's, you know, that you become obsessed with that, or you become making, you know, I think the biggest thing is trying to make yourself as good or make yourself better because of the other person's strengths.
Yes.
As opposed to wanting to be better than the other person.
Gotcha.
Because there's really not that thing.
You used a very specific word that I find has very split, I guess, connotations within this industry. But I'm curious to know what your relationship is with the definition of the word competition within this industry.
There isn't, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think there is. Like we could be in the same genre and people will call it competition. But like you and I could be up for the same role.
Yeah. And
it's really not competition because like one of the things that I've always thought about this industry and about acting, and I tell people, the thing when people are down about not getting a role is to keep in mind that it's a selection, not a rejection.
Yes.
Right. And it's like there's no real competition because there's no way of measuring who's a better actor than somebody else. You know, even in sports, a lot of it is it's easier to put up, right? Whoever has, you know, it could be competition, whoever makes the most baskets or, you know, has the, but there's You can use statistics for whatever, right? As someone who's in a team, you can be one of the better athletes and you can measure that. You can see how much they lift, how fast they move. There's a lot of things that you can measure. But the things that you can't also measure is like what your effects on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could be a leader on the field. You can be an emotional leader. You know what I mean? Like there's all that like on the field. And as far as acting it goes, the way that I equate that is that there's no competition. Like you and I can go up for the same role and we could both kill it, but we're both bringing something completely different to that.
Yeah.
And what happens with that is like, it's just what the vision of the other filmmakers is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't say like, oh, I would have done a better role than this person had I booked it, because you would have just done a different role or a different job than the person that booked it.
So help me redefine or reframe this, where my point of view, because especially coming from a background of playing sports teams competitively, where I think of the word competition and I think of it in a healthy aspect of we're all striving towards the same goal. And when I see you put in work, it motivates me to want to put in work. And along the lines of iron sharpens iron, where I feel like I need to see somebody do it, not necessarily see somebody do it, but I need to know that I can better myself because I see somebody out there who is better than me.
Better than you in what sense?
Where they're just at a more advanced stage in their career, where it gives me something to catch up to.
Yeah, but that gives you something that is that you just said something that is great. I've been at it a lot longer than you have. So when you look at our resumes, mine has more lines on it, but that is a matter of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that sort of thing, which is like, I can see what you're saying, that you want to be where you see people that are, but it's like the way that I see things is like this. Everybody that's in my world, that's in my circle, whatever, are links on the same chain. And when you pull one of those links, the whole chain moves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So if one of your homies is doing great, then then that's the thing that is like, and it's good and it's coming. I'll tell you, I've never said this before on anything. And one of the things that I've done earlier in my career, and may or may not still do it to a lesser extent, is what you were saying, is you're seeing what people around you are doing. And my guy for that was and is Lyric. Lyric Bent. Lyric Bent has got a couple years, ahead of me. And the way that I saw it, though, it wasn't like, okay, I want to get there. It's like, okay, I see what the trajectory of my career is kind of going towards. Where it's like, okay, he did this thing. Okay, cool. So I got that to look forward to if I keep doing the things that I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it's like working hard, because I know, like, he worked hard, and continues to work hard. And it's one of those things that there is that little bit of healthy competition. It's like, you know what, man, I've done this and that ahead of you. But, you got like the Hollywood red carpet before I did. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so that, and it goes and, it's like that healthy competition amongst friends. I guess that's what's bringing that back. You're just kind of pushing each other, right? Sometimes when your fire is not burning as hot, you might be able to, borrow a little bit of a flame from, somebody else's fire. Yeah. My thing is, don't try to put somebody else's fire to keep yours going, right? Yes. Yeah. Because like that's also another thing that I see from that word, where people see it as, oh, it's competition. You're trying to knock this person off where they are. It's like, no, I want them to stay as successful as they possibly can.
I just use them as like a beacon, if you will, where they're just they've illuminated a path.
Yes, they're pointing the way,
Yeah.
pointing the
And
way.
like that's as much as I want to be seen as inspiration for people, I also want people to like surpass me, right? And then that gives me something to see and it's like, okay, cool. Now I got to surpass you again. And then it just goes hand in hand where we just keep going because like this is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
In a perfect world, it's a game of leapfrog,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you can use that other person to push yourself higher to leapfrog them.
Hmm.
And then they kind of push off of you to jump ahead.
Hmm.
And then you can, but the amazing thing about that is that you're both, or whoever is involved, moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the difference is like, like once you leapfrog somebody, you got to go back down and hunch down so that the other person can go over you. And you're not trying to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's not a game of musical chairs. I mean, sometimes I guess it is, because if you're just thinking about one role,
Yeah.
there's only the one chair left at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't think about this career as just one role,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a combination of all of them,
Yeah.
and if you keep losing all the roles to somebody, then I don't know.
There's eventually going to be that one time where that person's working.
That, yes.
And then you're left. You're the guy.
Yes. I made friends with, I don't know if saying like this person's name is I don't know if it was sort of the story or not, but I saw this person playing a role on a film, and I
The
saw him
name
playing
was
another
Tom
role
Cruise.
on another film. No, not Tom Cruise. And I looked at, and I'm going to tell you why right now. I looked at this guy, and I'm like, this guy looks like me. I could be on stage too, or on I can do this as well. He's a little bit, he's a little bit more experienced in life than I am, and just watching him kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration. It's like, oh, I guess I can do it. And then fast forward a few years, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm auditioning for this series regular on a show, and this is the fifth audition, and then I see him there. I didn't see him in the first few, but I saw him in like the second last auditions that we had, and I'm like, holy shit, man! I'm like, this is crazy. It's like, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this thing. And then we leave that one, and then they tell us, they bring two of us back to test with a network test that same day. So they have contracts in front of us, right? And it's like, this is going to be crazy. It's like a big NBC show. And then they tell us to go get some food and come back in a couple hours. Well, they draft all the paperwork and stuff. So we go, and then we get to talking. He asked me, he's like, how many of these have you done this far? I'm like, this is my first. He's like, you? And he's like, this is my 8th at this level. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, listen, man, I wasn't going to say anything to you, but you're probably the reason why I got into this thing, because that got into it, but gave me the thought that I could do something like this.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, that is super sweet. So we're talking in line, and he buys me my lunch. And it's like, dude, this is as a welcome. This is, welcome to this world. And then since then, we've remained in touch, and there were a couple things that we both went out for, and either, he got or somebody else got. And then the last time that we both auditioned together, it came down to 3 of us at the end in the room. And it was one of those things. They're like, hey guys, thank you. Because they kept us. It started out with 5, they got rid of 2, and then they kept calling us in, right? Because it was recurring on a show. And So, and then like, okay, guys, thank you. And then a few days later, I get the call, and I call him, and I'm like, listen, man, I would want to know who got it, just letting you know that I did. So it was one of those, and he was like, one of those things that it's like happy for me. And I was always happy. I'm happy for him every time I see him on screen. And if there's anything, he just looks kind of like, he looks like he could be my older brother.
Hmm. Hmm.
But, you know, it's one of those things that welcoming thing. And this is back then in LA, most of my auditions were going out for guys from Samoa, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, and that's what this group is. That's who kind of, when I started auditioning out there, that's who kind of opened their arms to me
Yeah.
right away.
I'm curious now. Who is it?
He played Mano Mano the Slender on Necessary Roughness. You probably know him from here. He was E Honda in Van Damme's Street Fighter.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. 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 Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
He's such a big, scary looking dude, and such a sweetheart all at once.
That's so cool with having that kind of welcome into Hollywood from him. Oh man.
Dude, man, it's these things that I've been so very blessed with throughout my career.
Mm-hmm.
Could I be farther along? Yes, but the road that I've taken, it's been rough at times,
Yeah.
as you know, but other times is some of the people that have crossed my path has just been so amazing.
Hmm.
So amazing, like him, and other people that that I've kind of done like the same sort of thing, the welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes to what we're talking about, how it's like it is competition, but it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we were competing for every particular role, but at the end of the day, it's like it's not just like it's a combination of all the roles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure we would both love to doing something in which we're both on the screen at the same time,
No, that'd be so cool.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what you want. We were
As of late,
developing something, but that kind of fell through a while ago, which would have been crazy.
mm, as of late, I've been coming across this quote more and more. No idea when I first came across it. It was decades ago, but it's about being happy with where you are at the present moment. And I'm curious to know what it was like with your journey and with learning to be okay with where you are at the present moment.
I don't know how to answer that. Ask me again.
What was it like coming to terms, and this is me being presumptuous just as an artist, we're thinking that every artist starts off with these not necessarily higher ambitions, but they keep looking to the future as opposed to just being okay with the present and being happy with where they are in the present moment. Did you ever have to come to terms with that, or have you always been a person who is always happy with the now?
I'm a combination of those two things. I
Hmm.
want more
Hmm.
because I just want to keep pushing myself,
Of course, yeah.
right? And also, I'm I'm happy where I am because one, it's the only place I could be right now, and two, it's wherever it leads, it's gonna lead,
Hmm.
right? And I've worked hard to get here, dude. I'm so blessed that I get to pay my bills from doing this thing that we love.
Yeah. But like even with that sentence itself, it's such a scary sentence when especially when I first came across it, of just being okay with wherever the road leads. What was that like for you, and wrapping your head around that sentiment of just letting the road lead where it's going to lead?
There's within the last couple years, there's been these 5 words that have kind of helped me get through everything.
Hmm.
And it's like, and I see a whole bunch of posts about it since, but I keep saying it, and it is what it is.
Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
what it is, man. I mean, you have some martial arts background, right?
Hmm.
You can plan a fight all you want.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you get punched in the face, and you just gotta, you know,
Yeah.
back up and put your guard up and keep punching. You know, sometimes someone, throws you a fake, and you think you're gonna block that hook, and something else comes out of nowhere. You get like, low line kick.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things that it's like you just keep, just keep doing your thing, keep fighting. You can have all the the game plan, that you want,
Yeah.
but you also have to be able to move around it.
Hmm.
Right? You gotta,
Hmm.
it's like you gotta have plans or goals that you want, but you also need to be able to, like, your goal is to land a jab and then it moves, but all of a sudden, like a hook opens up,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like you gotta see the thing. I don't know if I'm answering what you asked, but it's like the biggest thing about it is, if you stick too tightly in your hand what you want, and it's like, okay, I need to do this by this,
Yeah.
it destroys you a little bit if you don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that you need a big picture.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need a big picture. And without the big picture, you can't see the little things that need to be done to get to the big picture.
Agreed.
But if you focus entirely on the big picture, you're going to miss every step that's in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to have the big picture, and also know the pieces that are coming together.
Hmm.
Life is a
Yeah.
giant jigsaw puzzle, man.
Yeah. Definitely is.
Sometimes we don't have all the parts.
Hmm.
You know, your dog ate a couple pieces, and you're gonna have to put the picture together without those parts.
Huh. That's deep.
But you can still see the picture
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a
from
different
really far away. You know what? Yeah, it
point
looks like
distance.
that.
Hmm. I like that. So, with your experience within this industry and starting as early as you did, what was, I guess, where was your mindset around the concept of diversity and the ever so popular hashtag today of representation matters? Was that always, or was that ever a thought when you first started, that I'm doing this for other people like me?
I want to say yes.
Hmm.
Because you know, I want to sound like woke.
Yeah.
Dude, someone said to me, it's like, they straight up and said to me, it's like, you know what? You built a career in spite of being you, of being, you know, a mixed, Latino, 6'2", 350 pounds on average throughout my career.
Mhm.
And it's like, you've managed to put together a nice body of work in spite of that.
Hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, I always wanted to represent, like the people that look like me, at least, like, or represent Latinos, and in a way that even when I played bad guys, I didn't want to make them disgusting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But was I thinking about like other people coming. It was like not just people, more people that I knew and that I was around, not necessarily thinking that there was going to be another 300-pound Latino kid thinking that they were going to get a chance to do it because they saw me do it, even though that Peter did that for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't think of that then. I always thought that I'm a big believer that the more you try to help other people out, the better things are going to go for you. Right? Like it's easier to get, you know, it's easier to have like, what am I, like, what I'm trying to say here, it's like the more you pay forward, like I've had a lot of help in my life and I like to pay it forward a lot. And I know this is not what you're talking about, the diversity thing. What I'm saying is that it was never a thing for me to say like, I am only going to help or will only want, you know, want to help people that look like me get better. It was never a thing. It's like, I want other, you know, fat kids or fat Latino kids to look up to me and say like, oh, I can do it. I wanted people to, of whatever they look like, to see is like, hey, if this fat Latino kid can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was never a thing of, I just wanted one particular group of people to say like, oh, you know, there it is. We can do it because of this. I want to, like, you know, if anybody's going to say I could do something, I didn't care where they were from.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, I think that, you know, we're all just humans.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And it's funny where I feel like the diversity card has kind of taken a forefront of conversations, and they're kind of imposing it on people, where for myself, I find it so weird when people ask me about, you know, oh, so you're trying to be, you know, one of the first few Canadian Filipino actors. And I was like, sure, but I'm just trying to just be an actor. And
Yes.
by default, you know, yeah, I'm a Filipino Canadian actor, but I'm just trying to be an actor. I just wanna act. And if I represent people, I'm so happy about that. But it's not the mission, where, because then I've come across where it's like people would say, it's like, oh, are you trying to, you know, be the best Filipino actor? And I was like, no, I'm just trying to be the best actor I can be. And if by chance I win an award for it, then I guess I'm representing the Filipino people as well. And so when it comes to diversity, it's like I want to represent as many people as I possibly can. And in doing so, hopefully the people of my background also are feeling represented.
I remember when IMDb used to have a comment section. It was great to see there was this one thread that was going on of different people trying to claim or figure out what my nationality was. And they were trying to, or my background was. And there were different people claiming me for whatever. And it was just like, no, man, I saw him do this thing. He's from Samoa. And it's like, no, he's speaking Spanish in this. He's Mexican. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like everybody had to, which was great in the sense that it's one way of doing it is like people are, you know, welcoming you into whatever it is, you know, whatever it is that they have or that they are, which is great in one way, you know, but also that I guess it matters to a lot of people with that, because you go in and you show you show that they have like a little bit of national pride with that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why sports is a big thing, especially things like, you know, in the Olympics when everybody gets to fly whatever flag it is that they were from. But I mean, am I doing it for that, I mean, I'm an actor, and I just, so happen to have this DNA,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this is what it is. And but there's also another thing, man. If you think about it, okay, am I representing everybody that's Latino? Because we all have different backgrounds.
Mhm.
Would it be more specific? Am I representing everybody that's Latino that grew up at 300 pounds, raised by a single mother in Scarborough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you get that specific, or where do you go? How do you take that? Like, what do you think on that?
It's tricky. It's because then it also falls on the mindset of the people that are being represented, or thinking that they have to interpret if this person represents me.
Right. I mean, and there's
Yeah.
also, okay, let me ask you this. Is the representation the actor or the character?
Oh man. Okay, so I'm gonna answer this, but first we're gonna be a little bit ghetto because I don't pay for Pro Zoom, and it's
Okay.
saying that it's gonna cut me off.
All right.
So let's jump back onto this
So
call.
after these messages,
After-
after this short commercial break,
a word from our sponsors.
yes.
All right.
So you're gonna send me another link?
Same link. Same
Okay.
link. Okay. Yep.
Oh, here we go
I have
again.
no idea why Zoom is acting like the way it is today. I've never had to,
I thought for two people it was unlimited.
yeah. Oh, that's so upsetting. Because
Right? You can edit that.
I have a few other interviews lined up as well, and this isn't the experience that I wanted to provide my guests with. But yes, so to go back to your question, um, is it the actor or is it the character? To which, ah, it's such a again, it's up to that person, because my mind automatically goes to whenever able-bodied actors portray actors with said disabilities. And there would be it all it's funny because it depends on A, who the actor is that plays it, and B, was it a compelling performance? Because I've seen reviews of films where you'd have somebody in a wheelchair and then people would get at that person for saying, oh, this person can walk, why is he doing it? And then there would be another role in another production where an able-bodied actor is in a wheelchair and everybody just gives it critical acclaim and praise. And so I feel like there's so much politics behind it. But my opinion, me as an artist, I say whoever can play it with the most truth, where it doesn't really matter who plays the character as long as they get to the root of the story in a very honest way. So I don't know how this will influence cancel culture on me, but it's like, if there is a Chinese person or a Japanese person and they play a Filipino character, does this actor do it justice? If the actor needs to speak Tagalog, do they go and they learn it and they invest like 6 months prior to filming in learning this language so they can actually have the dialogue truthfully? Then it's like, I'm okay with that. And then another example that just popped into my head where people were getting at Ryan Gosling because, oh, he didn't play piano before La La Land. And it's like, but
It
he
does
learned
now.
it. You know what I mean? He invested time into it and he provided a compelling performance. And I was a fan of it. I didn't look at it and was like, oh, they should have cast me because I know how to play piano and sing, or and it's like, but that's just my opinion on that. To where it's such a fickle industry on who says what you can and cannot represent.
Right.
Yeah,
But that's the thing, man. That's what people are saying,
yeah, yeah.
right? And it's like, man, it's like, ah, it's
Yeah,
it's a tough thing because, for example, the theory about everything,
yeah. Eddie Redmayne.
right? People were upset that they had an able actor on it, but at the beginning of the movie, they show him running.
Yeah,
They show how, before he ended up in the chair.
yeah,
So it's tough to get around that.
yeah.
And it's like it's not it's not everything's like, well, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. Um, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's tough, but we also it's what's amazing is the pauses that we're hearing on us having this conversation
Mhm.
are there because we got to think twice about everything that we're saying,
Mm.
so not to piss off a couple of people. And that's the world that we're living right now.
Yeah.
Let me go something a little like a little tangent on this. I don't know if you've seen this like bullshit on Netflix.
There's
I don't mean like
tons of bullshit.
yeah, I don't mean that. I mean the actual show called Bullshit.
Oh no, I have not.
It's a show. Imagine, if you will,
Okay.
so you want to be a millionaire,
Hmm.
but if you don't know the answers, you can try to convince a panel of 3 people on how you came up with the answer or how you know the answer. And if they believe you and they're right, they get points.
I like that.
And so you can bullshit your way to $1 million without
I
having
need
to
to
know.
watch this show. I love that. There's
Dude,
like panel shows in the UK that I absolutely adore because that's all it is. It's just it's the creativity of the people that are there.
okay, with you saying that now, it makes what I'm about to say about the show more difficult
Hmm.
because I think it's what's wrong with the world today that
Hmm.
you don't have to know anything and then you win because you're able to bullshit it. There's a realism to the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's the sad state of affairs that that's what it is. If you're able to bullshit, like, you can have followers that are going to believe the shit that you say.
Hmm.
But with that said, it took
Hmm.
me 6 episodes to realize that this was a bad thing. And believe me, I'm going to
That's
catch the
fascinating
rest of
though.
them. You know what
That's
I mean? It's like I'm saying
yeah.
that this is what's wrong with the world, but I'm watching it.
Is that hmm.
So they win.
Yeah. So, in a perfect world, then, would you then say everybody should just be honest?
How amazing would that be?
Yeah, that'd be a completely different world.
It's impossible.
Yeah,
Well, okay, with that said, do you think that if everybody was honest, would creativity go away?
I think so. I don't think it would go away. I just think it wouldn't be as compelling as it is today because you gotta not necessarily go into a dark place, but like a lot of amazing content, a lot of amazing art is when people go into this place where it's just them.
Right,
And I think that private space that allows people to just be themselves without the judgment of others provides this I go back to the movie Soul, Pixar Soul, where you go into this zone of just the divine. And I think we need to be pushed there to get there.
Right,
Hmm.
right. You know how people say I should be an actor because I'm a good liar? Have you heard
Yeah,
that said?
yeah,
It irks me because you're not lying, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
It's when you're most truthful. The only person you're lying to when you do like when you're acting and you're doing like trying to perform like the best performance you can
Mhm.
is yourself, because you need to believe that you're in that situation.
But then this goes like full circle now of I guess the concept of being, where it's like, and the ego, where are you lying to yourself? Who is this self now?
Well, yes, dude, because I have never killed zombies in real life.
Yeah.
And I got to tell myself that this fake gun that I'm holding is killing that fake zombie.
Hmm.
But in my head, I got to be afraid for my life
Yeah.
so that I'm killing this fake zombie with, you know, fake weapons.
Hmm.
But you got to completely be and believe that.
Yeah. So then it's like, if you are being in that moment, are you lying? Because in that moment, you're being
I believe that you got to lie to yourself well enough that you believe that you're being. But at the end of the
before. You
day,
have to lie to yourself before you're being.
of course, you got to
Yeah.
set up that world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, and we do that in real life,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of times in relationships when you think like somebody likes you, and in your heart of hearts, you know that this person likes you back,
Yeah.
but they just want to be friends, or they just want to use you for your pool in the summertime.
Yeah.
Going back to when I was a kid.
Hmm. No, it's funny you mentioned that, because just the other day I was thinking about this, and it's a quote that resonates with me, where, and I think about it when I go to the gym because I have to bring my own lock. And it's, locks don't keep bad people out. Locks keep honest people honest.
Okay. That's something that I think about a lot
Hmm.
every time that I lock my doors,
Yeah.
every time that I walk down the street, every time that people have said something. You know that I used to work security and I was a bouncer for a long time, and you
Yeah.
know that has provided me with amazing amounts of stories and met amazing people. So
Yeah.
I don't regret any of it. But with that, it's like I've had people say a lot of shit to me and then kind of like hide in their cars, or people that go in and they hide in their homes. And if someone really wanted to, that front door or the window to in a car, it's not enough to stop them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And luckily, we live in a society where most of the people are good.
Now that's another completely different conversation, where it's like,
It,
what is the definition of good?
well, at least not wanting to do you harm.
Hmm.
You know, let's go with a bare minimum of
Hmm.
good. Like good person, someone that's not going to want to intentionally do you harm.
Yeah. Okay.
You can go progressively, you know, worse into that, right? Getting into some like, you know, so some sort of like philosophies,
Hmm.
you know, which is great. So we can talk about that stuff all day too.
Yeah.
But it's like what you're saying is like you have your own lock, and if somebody wanted what was in there, they can get it.
Yeah. But then now it's the discussion of effort, where if this person really wanted it, do they know what they're after? Now what are the stakes now? What's the intent? Where, because it's mostly curiosity that people would go into something that's unlocked. Not necessarily they need something from it, but just sheer curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, and if the movies have taught us anything, some people just want to watch the world burn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that in most, okay, I'm going to give you an example of a story that I got last night. I was out for dinner with um, a couple of high school buddies,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them was telling me a story about someone that when he was working at a store, at a grocery store, um, this guy walked in, filled up like one of those like carriage things that you hold in your hand, not the buggy,
Mm-hmm.
full of meat. He said he must have had about $400 or $500 worth of meat.
Okay.
He put it all on there and just walked out. And this company has a very hands-off policy, kind of like what the LCBO has now. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
People are walking to the LCBO and just walking out because staff has a hands-off policy.
Hmm.
You can try to
Okay.
call the cops after the fact,
Yeah.
but while they're doing it, you can't try to stop them.
Hmm. Okay.
If security happens to be there, they can do something about it, but the staff can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this guy was upset about it happening because, he's like supervisor or managerial type guy. He follows this person that stole and he watched steal. And it's hands off, so he can't say anything. He walks up to him and he's pissed off and he's thinking like, yeah, I can knock this guy out, take my stuff back into the store, but he's going to get in trouble for it and it's not even worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You never know what the person can do. He
Mm-hmm.
looks at him and he's like, why? Just answer me why you got to steal stuff from my store.
Yeah.
And he said, because I don't give a fuck about humanity and I'm hungry.
Sure.
And it's like, man, that's a completely different answer than saying I'm hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if he had just said, because I'm hungry, it's one of those things where you're like, all right.
You didn't need to take that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're hungry. It's like, all right. But
Yeah.
to start with that, I don't
I don't
to
give a
start
fuck
with that
about
first
humanity.
part,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that changes the whole
Yeah.
thing.
The world hurt him.
Yeah. And him saying that would automatically make it that, don't try to stop him because
Yeah.
it's not going to end well.
Jeez. Man. It's such an interesting world where especially with what we do, where we literally have to get into the minds of these characters that we're playing. And it's for me, it's opened up this level of empathy that I can't seem to control sometimes, to the degree where when people are condemning racists, I'm telling them to stop because there's so much more that's going on in this person's mind majority of the time, where a lot of racists, they're taught to be racist. It's not their fault that they're racist, but that's just how they were raised. That's what they know. And in the world where ignorance still is bliss, these people only know racism, and people are just ready to throw stones at them. And it's like, I see where you're coming from. You think of this person as part of the problem, as part of this virus, and you just need to get rid of it. But this person has so much other stuff that's going on in their head that racism isn't necessarily, majority of the time, not a thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating where taking that opportunity to ask that guy who stole all that food why, where if we just had more time and more patience and engaged in those conversations, back to what you were saying about imagine if everybody was honest, imagine if everybody took the time to ask how you're doing and ask why you do what you do.
Yeah, but dude, that would be an amazing world. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but we have the whole human element in that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's also even a funny turn of phrase, where being human, where we're at that point now where being human is slowly gaining negative connotations, where back in the day where being human meant we were on top of the world, we were the top of the food chain
But
with
that's what it
these.
is. We
Yeah.
are on top of the food chain, unfortunately,
Mhm.
because we're the worst thing to happen to the planet.
Yeah, we're at the top, but like ethically we're the shittiest things on this planet.
That's why we're at the top, is because we're so shitty,
Yeah,
right?
it's funny too, because like whenever I have conversations with people, when the talk of colonization, where it's like the only reason why colonization happened is because you had people who were greedy and you had people who were just completely filled with love. And you had these people so willing to welcome these people onto their lands, while on the other hand, you had these people looking to get on this land and just conquer it. Like
Because
there's no
they like
competition.
it was a shiny metal,
Yeah,
you know. They like something shiny from somewhere, and they wanted it.
yeah. A little shiny distraction. And once you're
Yeah,
looking that way, it's like, oh, and it's just so crazy where it's like I hear about these tribes that as soon as somebody sets foot on their land, the tribes kill them. And then people see that as like barbaric. It's like, how dare they just kill us when we step on their shores? It's like they're just trying to,
self-preservation.
yeah, they're just they know better. That's why they're doing that.
Yeah,
Oh,
self-preservation, man.
oh man.
It's like there's a couple islands like that you can't set foot on,
Yeah, no, and I love it. It's
and they
beautiful.
don't and they don't have Facebook or Instagram.
And they're probably the happiest beings out there because of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
we think, we're happy with likes.
oh,
You know, I
yeah,
don't know, dude, but you know what? Like, I'm at a point that you can't go back,
yeah, yeah.
right? At this point is like, well, we were joking yesterday. It's like, what happens during the zombie thing? I'm like, you know what, man? I'll be okay for the first little while. I'll take down a few zombies, but when we have to start hunting and getting like our own food and stuff, that's going to be a little more difficult for me, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I
Oh
don't even
man.
know where, like, what Taco's natural habitat is. I'm like, okay, so where do I get this stuff?
That's
I'll be
so
sitting in
funny.
a cornfield going like, where are the tortillas, right?
How do I make this into a tortilla? Do I will it? Do I
Do,
just
yeah, do I manifest a tortilla to come out?
is this why there was so much prayer happening? They prayed for
Yes,
tortillas?
right? It was just praying for this shit, and then it's like,
Oh
oh,
man.
and
Uh,
it's. Go ahead.
I'm trying to use the word preservation right now as a segue into this industry, where I think it's a good term to kind of preserve yourself in this industry. You kind of have to branch off into other aspects of it. So what I mean is, like, you can't just go in and just want to only be an actor. You kind of have to take the initiative to want to direct or want to write or want to produce or branch off into other aspects of entertainment. And I was curious to get you on here to ask you about, I think I heard within your productions, you try to create like a Pedro universe by involving very particular props that are used throughout all of your productions.
Right? Did we have
Is
this conversation, or you heard from?
I heard it from somebody. We never had this conversation, so
Oh,
I wanted to confirm this. Is this Pedro universe true?
I love the way it sounds, dude. I never called it that. I'm
Where
not
all
gonna
of
lie. I love that. I'm like grinning huge right now. But I wanted all my projects to be in the same world, be in the same universe. Like,
Hmm,
There is like,
So you had
it's
like beer bottles with the same labels.
yes, yeah.
Hmm.
So I have um I had a nickname for a while when I started working door, which was sumo.
Hmm.
So I have like big sumo burger, and I
Yeah.
had like a sumo beer, which has got like a cartoon of a sumo wrestler with a background of Mount Fuji, and it's like really heavy beer,
Mhm.
So it's got like, so I have the logos for these things done up, and it's just things that are gonna be that are gonna be like in the background that nobody might ever notice it unless you're looking for it.
Yeah. But it's
Tarantino
there.
does that sort of thing, right? Which
Yeah.
is it's an homage to that,
Yeah.
right? Another thing that I have in a couple of my projects, there's always, I'm trying to think if all of them, but at least the last couple things that I've been working on and going forward, um, there will always be a little nod. There will always be, as long as I can make it happen,
Hmm.
there will always be a little nod to George Romero.
Mm.
Like there's like little things, maybe it's a quote from a movie, might be a known quote, might be something that nobody knows, or there's always going to be a little something. I was offered a role that it's supposed to be happening um late fall, winter, and they're like, when we're talking about this project, like anything that you would want. I'm like, if you can make it that I'm wearing glasses, I want you to model the glasses that George Romero would always wear.
Wow.
Right. So that's going to be on that one. And it's not my project, but it's something that, that the producer and the writer are cool enough with, that they're willing to give me a little bit of, of segue like, let me have that.
Yeah.
Um, I shot something recently that I'm working on where I'm watching one of his movies, and then something else has one of the lines from the movie that's something completely different, as well as some of the props that I'll be building. So in a perfect world, there would be a Pedro universe,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's what I'm trying to build with that. It's just to put your little, it's a cool thing for people to look for,
Yeah.
as well as like, oh, what's it going to be? What's the Romero thing in this? Because I feel like I owe George like a great debt of gratitude. He helped me out so much after having worked on his movie, and we became friends afterwards.
Wow.
So it's like that sort of thing that just know the people that have helped you throughout.
Yeah. Were
You
you
know,
always a fan of zombie movies?
no,
Hmm.
no. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I did
Yeah.
not know who George Romero was
Hmm.
before doing the movie,
Okay.
to a point where I almost said that I didn't want to do it. I'm like, well, I don't know about this, right? And then a buddy of mine's like, this is George Romero. You want to do it? I'm like, I don't know who that is. And it's like, it's this guy. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then um, I auditioned for one role, and because I was working on something else, and I auditioned for one role, and then they offered me a different role
Hmm.
within the same movie. And it was a, so it just grew. And then when I went in, I got to know the dude, and then we started doing those conventions, the horror conventions, got to know him even more, and then we just became friends, and he taught me so much that it's like embarrassed that I didn't know who he was before.
Wow.
But I've gone back to watch, I think I've watched maybe everything that he's done,
Wow.
even
Amazing.
like some of the non-zombie things.
Yeah. 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 Do you have any sage words of advice that stick with you that were from him?
He read one particular script, and he said, "This is your Rocky.
Wow.
Don't sell this. You need to be this character." He said, when you're writing, he borrowed this from a friend of his, which is a great story. You're gonna love this.
Hmm.
He's like, a friend of mine tells me this when he writes. He's like, have you met Steve? I'm like, I don't know. Steven. I'm like, Steven. It's like, Stephen King. Have you met him? I'm like, no, George, I have not met Stephen King. It's not something that, you know what I mean? He's like, you know what, I'll introduce you guys at some point, which was crazy. And then he said to me, he's like, one of the things that he learned from him is like that he's kept with him is when you write like you're telling a friend a story. Don't try to overcomplicate things. Just tell the reader who's your friend the story that you want to tell them. And he also said and this is probably that sticks with me the most. The sticks with me the most is to make movies and love it. Just get a group of your friends together and make movies.
Yeah,
that's how he started, and that's the type of thing that I'm doing now. I'm working on a couple projects, and it's basically call up the homies and be like, hey, let's do this.
Hey.
And someone's like, well, you got so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm like, because, I got somebody that's been with me and been, running lines with me for years. And if you got the opportunity to do something,
Yeah.
let's do it.
That's it. And I love that about this industry too.
Yeah, man. If you're going to be on set for like 12 hours a day, might as well surround yourself with people you like.
Yeah.
Which is one thing that I always said about auditions. It's like it can come to you and other people. It's coming full circle what we were talking about earlier about selection. It's like you and I can go for the same role and we both do a great job. It'll be, slightly different, but it's still the same, we can both carry the character and bring some life to the character. But I could remind them, remind the director of like whether it could be like her high school boyfriend that broke her heart. I mean, that would probably be more you, but but it's like that thing that's not, she's not going to want to see it. Or if it's like a new director that, reminds like a guy that looked like me, picked on him in high school, also not going to want to.
Yeah, there's so many factors that that actors don't realize when it comes to the selection process.
Yeah.
99.99% of the time, it's not you. You are an amazing actor, but you didn't get the role for a reason that was outside of your control.
Yes. It's not, and if someone is saying is like, fuck no, not this guy, then it has nothing to do with your acting, and it's probably something that you did to that person a long time ago.
What was your relationship with that sentiment of being okay with not being picked?
I'm not. Dude, I'm not. I can say this shit because it's the sound bites that an actor is supposed to say. I don't get roles. I'm like, fuck, man. Like I'm that dude, man. If I had the other actor's address, I would probably go by and like, break his legs or nothing too much, just enough so that they can't shoot that and they call me.
That's so funny.
No, man, because you know what, man, I'm lucky to have the mentality that if it's not this role, it's the next one. And in my head, it's like I prefer that somebody I know gets it because it's one of the homies having food. Or like if it's not me, I want it to be somebody that I know.
Fair. Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
Like a friend of mine. Given the choice, I'll pick me.
Yeah.
100% of the time, and I'll buy them a meal if they're hungry. Right?
Yeah. That's
but
funny.
I do want see other people that are around me succeed, like you said earlier too, right? That's part of it. And do I get upset? I get sad that I'm not gonna get that opportunity. But at the end of the day, I know that there's more coming, and I am confident enough in my work that to know that something is coming.
Gotcha.
Something else. I I know a lot of actors that they go through like a long time without auditioning or without booking,
Mhm.
and in their heads is, I'm never going to work again. Nobody's ever going to hire me again. I've never thought that.
Yeah.
I've never thought that at all. I always thought that it's like, something's coming and we don't know what it is. It could be like something small, it could be something great. You never
You
know.
don't know, you don't
Like,
know what it is, and you don't know when it is. That's
yeah,
also, yeah.
but I know that something is like,
Yeah.
I'm confident enough, but because I also look at it as my job.
Yeah.
It's my work. I am going to work again,
I
right? And if
find I
not,
find it so fascinating where within this industry, everybody that decides that they want to join this industry has that opportunity to succeed. Whatever their definition of success is, they will attain it. But the catch is you're not allowed to know when. And the
yes,
people that do are the ones that are willing to be patient enough to stick it out.
there's a saying in Hollywood: everybody makes it, most quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get frustrated and they just stop.
Yeah.
I figured like a few years ago, I was past the point of no return.
Hmm.
I'm like, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I do other stuff, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I can see we're being timed down here.
You see it too? Fuck.
Yes, I see that, and I'm like, one of the things that I want to say. I remember having dinner with a girlfriend's family, and the mom said to me, "What are you going to do if this acting thing doesn't work out for you?"
Oh my
And I
God.
said,
I had this conversation recently. Go on.
"Oh yeah." And I
Yeah.
said to her, I'm like, I'm gonna become a director. She's like, oh, is that easier? I'm like, I don't know, but I'll become a director and I'll hire me as an actor. She's like, well, what about if the director thing doesn't work? I'm like, well, I'll become a writer so I can write something that I can direct and hire me as an actor. And she's like, well, how about realistically if none of those things work? I'm like, okay, well, I'll take what I learned in business school when I went to university and become a producer. I'm like, oh, okay. And then hire me as a writer to write a film that I can direct and hire myself to act. So she just kind of got that, gave me like a dirty look from it because it all comes down to the thing. It's
Yeah.
like, this is what I've chosen. There's no other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's other things that we do,
Yeah.
right? I have written and I do want to direct, like I directed like little shorts here and there,
Mhm.
but I want to direct a feature. I reverse engineered one of my scripts into a novel or more of a
Wow.
novella.
Nice.
We're working on that, and recently decided to throw my hat in onto the stand-up comedy stage, which has been terrifying and awesome.
Oh man. We got to bring you back on the show so we can dive into that because I'm so fascinated. And that was the thing I wanted to talk about too the most
Yes, I
was
remember we were talking about that before, and it's like just got talking about life.
life. Oh, life that old topic. God damn it.
Yes, the
Oh
one thing we
man.
all have in common till we
Yeah.
don't.
Till we don't. Ah. But Pedro, thank you so much
Yes,
for
sir.
coming
Thank
on
you.
and giving me your insight and everything. And I hope to be able to bring you back on
Yes,
and flush out um, everything that deals with comedy because I want to get into stand up. That's one thing that I want to really explore. It's because one, I love the stage, and two, I love writing.
yeah,
So why not just put it all together and give it a nice little one man show vibe.
and you have
So,
more control of the career element of that
hmm,
than you
hmm,
would in film.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Although nowadays we have control over that too, because we can go out and create a movie on our phones.
Have you ever attempted that?
I have.
Nice. What was
I
that
have.
like?
It was good.
Hmm.
It was good. I will probably not do it again because it does look so much better on better cameras.
Yeah.
And there's challenges to both things, but having the freedom that you can do it and you can start with that is an amazing thing. Would I do it
Mm.
again? I'd rather not because I'd
Yeah.
rather have a more polished looking result, but I would
Mm.
do it again just to, prove that it can be done.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's dope. But yeah, Pedro, again, thank you so much for lending me your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you. I had a
And
blast.
I wish you all the best with the Pedro universe, and
I love
hopefully
that. Thank you for
I
that,
can
by the
hopefully
way.
I can have a little sumo burger on set one day
Yes,
with you.
sir. Definitely.
Oh man. But other than that, everybody, thank y'all for coming out.
Thank
The 2 Degrees podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. Go check it out, www.letsplayon.org, and see how you can become part of the fight for brain aneurysm development, prevention, and awareness. But on that, everybody, thanks for coming. Mag-ingat kayo.